In a previous video I made some clutch rubbers for my CB404 out of Teflon. I've done about 2,000 miles since then, but the clutch has started to knock again, so I think the Teflon clutch rubbers have been squashed or compressed or something. So I'm going to pull the clutch out to have a look, and if they're worn I'm going to replace them with another material. There's definitely some play in the clutch basket, not as much as the original rubbers, but not none, so not ideal. I'll take the screws out and we'll have a look. It looks like the Teflon has definitely been compressed, so I guess it's not elastic enough for this. Some material options I've looked at for the replacements are Delrin, polyurethane, nitrile and Viton. Delrin is harder than Teflon, so won't provide any damping and might end up compressing like the Teflon has. Other people have tried polyurethane before, but it can break down in the hot engine oil and block up oilways. Nitrile has good oil resistance, but it's only stable at temperatures up to 110 degrees C, which is probably a bit close to the maximum temperature the oil will get. That leaves Viton, which has very good oil resistance and is stable up to about 200 degrees C. The only downside is that it's quite expensive. This strip I've bought, which is 900 by 30 by 10mm, enough to do 5 sets of the rubbers, costs £130 or about £26 a set. I originally ordered this piece of rubber from AliExpress that claimed to be Viton. I've checked it, but it's definitely not Viton. A way to tell if a rubber is Viton or fluorinated is to measure the volume and the weight and work out the density. This piece has a density of about 1.8 grams per cubic centimetre, whereas this is about 1.2 grams per cubic centimetre. Now this is a bit too soft to just machine, so what I'm going to do is cut it into individual pieces and then put them in the freezer for a few hours to cool them down to about -1, -2 degrees. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use butane as kind of coolant. Butane evaporates at about -1 degree, so I can put a little puddle on top of it and then it should keep it cool while I do the machining. This is the first 3D printed jig I'm going to use. The piece of Viton just goes in this top part and then gets bolted down to the bottom part, which will be in the vise, and then I'll mill the slot in the middle. The second 3D printed jig is this bit here to go in the lathe. I'll put this in the collet and then a piece of frozen Viton followed by a washer and a screw, and then I'll turn down the outside diameter. First I think I'm just going to cut the corners off with a knife so there's less to remove. The last jig is for these corner cutouts from the originals, and I've made it twice as high so that I can do them 2 at a time. Again, I'm going to put the pieces of Viton in the freezer and then put them in the jig and just drop an end mill down all 4 corners. The finish isn't too bad considering it's rubber. The end mill that I used for the corner cutouts was a bit blunt, but the rest of the finish is pretty good. So I'm going to let them warm up a bit and then try and install them into the clutch basket. It's quite tight, so I'm just putting a bit of red rubber grease on the rubbers to make it easier to assemble. They're quite tight and a bit difficult to fit, but the basket feels good. There's absolutely no play. While I was doing this, I've rebuilt this spare one, and I'm going to rebuild this one as well. It's probably worthwhile doing on this bike because you can't buy the clutch rubbers on their own, and it can be hard to find a decent clutch basket with no play for a reasonable amount of money. So that's it. I hope it was interesting. Thanks for watching.